Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Riley here for Real Takes, and I am posting our very first film review on our feed. You can expect a lot more of these, hopefully, as Max and I find time to go out and get to the movie theater. So the film I'm going to be reviewing today is the Happytime Murders, which opened in theaters this weekend. It is directed by Brian Henson. Brian Henson is the son of Jim Henson, the creator of the Muppets. And while this movie doesn't actually feature any Muppets per se, that you know, it does feature some new characters created by Brian Henson and screenwriter Todd Berger, not sure which one it is, to the film. And it stars Melissa McCarthy, not as the voice of a puppet, but in human form. It stars Melissa McCarthy, Joel McHale, Maya Rudolph, the always great Maya Rudolph, I should say, as well as a couple of other people. Elizabeth Banks pops up in this movie. And the film follows our lead character, Phil, who is a puppet. Phil Phillips, to be exact. He used to be an LAPD detective, and now he is a private eye whose older brother, or younger, I can't remember. I don't even know why I put that in there. His brother Larry gets killed, as well as the rest of his former castmates from an old show that they were on in the 80s, a very Sesame Street-like show called The Happytime Gang, where all these puppets showed up, and it was Elizabeth Banks' character was the only male character, or human character in the movie. And that's how we're doing this, just unedited, stumbling and all. Anyway, the movie kind of centers around that, and these characters are getting popped off one by one. And eventually, Phil Phillips meets up with his former partner, who is strangely some kind of puppetist, prejudiced towards puppets, we'll say. Connie Edwards, played by Melissa McCarthy, and together they sort of rebond together and decide that they're going to try and solve these murders. I was excited for this film. I wasn't super hyped about it, but I really enjoyed the trailer. And unfortunately, if you've seen the trailer for this movie, you've seen most of the good gags, as the film really suffers from a lack of just not being funny. There's nothing really here to latch onto. There's a couple of chuckle-worthy bits, but other than that, this is a film that has a lot of wasted potential. I wouldn't go as far. A lot of critics are saying that this is one of the worst movies of the year. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's the worst movie of the year. I wasn't really. It's not boring. The story is actually kind of interesting, but the stakes of the story are essentially abandoned in the beginning of the film, as Brian Henson kind of sets this movie up as a noir story where Phil Phillips is narrating and letting the audience know that puppets are treated kind of like second-class citizens. There's a scene in the beginning of the film, a really great scene in the beginning of the film, where Phil is going into his office and there's a puppet standing outside, and some kids come up and tear his eye out, and he's singing and dancing for the puppets. For the humans. And Phil tells this puppet, he says, "You don't have to do this anymore." And the puppet says, "Of course I don't have to do it anymore, but I like doing it. I like singing and dancing." And he's doing it to try and make money, just because puppets are disenfranchised in this modern Los Angeles society. So the movie kind of moves through various scenes with the cast members of this old TV show and Phil Phillips and Connie Edwards investigating this thing. And there's some funny gags. There's a couple of interesting things. The clever gags that they do come up with in the film are repeated so often that they just become null and void. And really, the shock value of hearing puppets swear and getting the literal stuffing blown out of them, which is funny the first time you see it when some of the puppets explode, and instead of blood, it's obviously just fluff. But the initial gag there of them being essentially dirty puppets wears out very, very quickly. And unfortunately, the rest of the film kind of just slogs along, and the story unravels, and it unravels in an interesting enough way to keep you engaged. But ultimately, for a comedy, or it was billed as a laugh-out-loud comedy, there really aren't any sort of gut-busting, laugh-out-loud funny moments in the film. really not much else to say about it. Like I mentioned, the clever gags. Instead of cocaine, the puppets are addicted to sugar, and the instead of being called crackheads, they're called sugar smacks, which is kind of funny. And there's a lot of on the nose gags though. Don't want to ruin anything for anybody who does want to go check this film out. It is opening in theaters today. So that's all I have on the Real Takes rating scale that we have set up. Once again, I'll go over that for you guys if you're not familiar with it. Max and I rate things on a scale of see it, rent it, or skip it. Obviously, see it meaning you should go out to the theater and see it. Renting means you don't have to go out to the theater right away. You can wait for digital or Netflix or whatever you want, Redbox. And skip it means, don't see it. It's probably more often than not garbage, or it's just not worth anything. On that scale, I'm going to give this one a rent it. Because I think there's something here, and I think if you're in the right mood and you got a few drinks in your hand, or you see this with an audience, maybe you'll have a different experience. I went to a matinee where there was 4 other people in the theater, so there was not a lot of laughing out loud, because it's uncomfortable. We've all been in that situation where you go to a movie and there's not many people there, and it's kind of uncomfortable to fill the theater with laughter. But I would say if you do go see this, go see it at a primetime show on opening weekend this weekend here. Or get together with a bunch of friends when it comes out on Redbox or Netflix or wherever, and have a few drinks. Because I think it would be enjoyable in that form. So, all right, guys, that's it for this review. You can read a written review which I wrote. That is up on realtakes.com right now. Make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, as well as check out our previous shows. We've done a top 5 show where Max and I have talked about our top 5 favorite films in different genres, as well as our main show, which we just kind of casually discuss movies. Our most recent episode, Max and I took a look at the fall movie schedule, which we'll finish on our next episode, which will hopefully be up later this weekend. Go to our Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/realtakes. We don't have a Twitter yet, so don't look for us on Twitter, but we're getting there eventually. You can listen to this on a myriad of different podcast sites as well. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever, Google Podcasts. No Apple Podcasts yet, but we're getting there. So, all right, guys, and let us know. Are you looking forward to seeing the Happytime murders? Did I ruin it for you? Let us know, and thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.